Section: Introduction. In this section, we discuss language models, LMs, and their capabilities in handling numerical reasoning tasks. While LMs excel in linguistic tasks like summarization and reasoning over text, they often struggle with tasks involving numbers. This difficulty may stem from how the models are trained or the limited exposure to numerical tasks in their training data. However, some studies suggest that using specific prompts can enhance LM performance in numerical reasoning tasks, indicating that these models may already possess relevant knowledge. One crucial aspect of numerical reasoning is contextualizing individual measurements within a population. Understanding how a sample compares to other samples in a population is essential for drawing meaningful insights from data. Probabilistic reasoning, which involves thinking in terms of probabilities, plays a significant role in cognition. It allows us to summarize data efficiently by focusing on key parameters that describe the distribution rather than every detail of individual samples. Our research aims to evaluate LM capabilities in probabilistic reasoning tasks such as estimating percentiles, drawing samples, and calculating probabilities. We also investigate the impact of real-world context and assumptions like the normal distribution on LM performance in these tasks. By posing questions related to idealized and real-world distributions, we seek to understand how well LMs can handle probabilistic reasoning challenges across different distribution families. Furthermore, we explore the design of prompts to enhance LM performance in numerical and scientific reasoning tasks. While LMs show impressive linguistic abilities, improving their numerical reasoning skills remains a challenge. Drawing inspiration from human cognitive processes in probabilistic reasoning, we aim to leverage insights from cognitive science to enhance LM performance in handling complex probability distributions. Section Summary. In this section, we explore the capabilities of language models, LMs, in probabilistic reasoning tasks, such as estimating percentiles, drawing samples, and calculating probabilities. We investigate how LMs perform when provided with idealized and real-world distributions, including questions about income in the U.S. population, and whether assumptions like a normal distribution can improve their accuracy. Our research aims to evaluate the effectiveness of LMs in handling probabilistic reasoning tasks across various distribution families and real-world domains like population health, climate, and finance. Section: Defining probabilistic reasoning tasks. In this section, we define 3 tasks to test a language model's understanding of basic distributions. The first task involves estimating percentiles, where the model needs to determine the percentile a sample belongs to in a given distribution. The second task requires the model to randomly draw samples from a distribution without using any additional tools. The third task involves calculating the probability of a sample falling within a specified range in a distribution. To assess how real-world context affects the language model's performance, we introduce distributions with real-world context, such as U.S. household incomes. We focus on Task 1, estimating percentiles, to evaluate the impact of real-world context on the model's performance. Task 1 is ideal for this evaluation as it shows the most variation in performance across different distribution families and examples with real-world context. We provide detailed templates for the 3 benchmark tasks and additional information on real-world distribution prompts in the appendix. For our study, we use 2 datasets, one with idealized distributions and another with real-world distributions. The idealized distributions include 12 families like normal, exponential, and Poisson. These distributions are commonly used in studies. When asking the language model about an idealized distribution, we provide parameters like mean and standard deviation. The real-world distributions are from health, finance, and climate domains. For health, we analyze data from 100K Fitbit users in the US, focusing on metrics like step count and heart rate. In finance, we use public census data for measures like annual income and monthly rent. For climate, we consider data from weather stations for variables like temperature and precipitation. By exploring both idealized and real-world distributions, we aim to evaluate the probabilistic reasoning abilities of language models comprehensively. Section Summary. In this section, we define 3 probabilistic reasoning tasks for language models, LMs. Task 1 involves estimating percentiles. Task 2 requires drawing samples from a distribution, and Task 3 focuses on calculating probabilities within a given range. These tasks aim to evaluate LM's understanding of idealized and real-world distributions, with Task 1 showing the highest performance variation across different distribution families and contextual examples. Section: Experimental Setup. In this section, we assess the performance of 4 language models: Gemini 1.0 Ultra, GPT-4 Turbo, GPT 3.5 Turbo, and Llama 3 to 70B, in zero-shot scenarios and with different shot types. We create prompts for the language models based on tasks outlined in section Probabilistic Reasoning Tasks. For zero-shot evaluation, we use 12 idealized distributions. We also introduce 2 types of shots, within distribution family distribution shots and within distribution shots. The former involves examples from a different distribution within the same family as the current distribution. The latter includes examples from the same distribution being queried. To understand the language model's performance in end-shot experiments, we compare their responses to a baseline where the answer is chosen based on the nearest target percentile value in the shot examples. This baseline does not interpolate between percentiles. We avoid using shots that could directly answer our questions. We specify shot values and percentiles for each question. For instance, if we ask for a percentile in a normal distribution with mean 100 and standard deviation 10, and provide 3 shots, the shots will correspond to specific percentiles from the same distribution. Moving on to real-world distributions, we evaluate the zero-shot performance of the same 4 language models in estimating percentiles related to health, finance, and climate data. We provide context about the real-world data sources in the prompts. To study the impact of context, we compare questions about idealized distributions with those incorporating real-world context. We use 11 unique target values derived from real-world data for building prompts. Although real-world distributions may not always follow a normal distribution, we treat them as such in our prompts for simplicity. We justify this by the similarity of many distributions to a normal distribution. We use statistical tests to show the closeness of the normal approximation to real-world distributions. Section Summary. In this section, we evaluate the zero-shot and end-shot performance of 4 language models: Gemini 1.0 Ultra, GPT-4 Turbo, GPT 3.5 Turbo, and Llama 3 to 70B, across various tasks and distributions. We propose 2 types of shots for the tasks, within distribution family distribution shots and within distribution shots, aiming to assess the model's interpolation capabilities. Additionally, we examine the model's performance in estimating percentiles in real-world distributions from domains like health, finance, and climate, using prompts that provide context and ground truth percentiles. Section: Experimental Results. In this section, we present our results based on the research questions we asked earlier. We start by looking at how well language models, LMs, can answer questions about idealized distributions without any prior training. We found that the performance of LMs varied across different types of distributions. For example, they did well on tasks involving percentiles for uniform and normal distributions but struggled with sampling tasks. Providing some examples within a distribution significantly improved their performance. Next, we investigated whether giving examples from the same distribution or different distributions in the same family helps LMs. We discovered that providing examples from the same distribution was more beneficial for their performance. We also explored whether LMs simply repeat the nearest example in the context. Our findings suggest that LMs do not just repeat examples but perform some kind of interpolation, which enhances their performance. Moving on to real-world distributions, we examined how well LMs can handle distributions found in the real world, such as income in the U.S. population. We observed that LMs showed varying levels of performance depending on the context. For instance, Gemini 1.0 Ultra performed better in the climate domain, while GPT-4 Turbo excelled in the health domain. We also looked into whether providing real-world context helps with probabilistic reasoning performance. Our results indicate that adding real-world context generally improves performance, especially when combined with a normal approximation. Furthermore, we investigated whether using parametric assumptions like a normal approximation as a prompt design strategy enhances performance. We found that, on average, this approach improved performance across different domains. Lastly, we compared the effectiveness of using a normal approximation versus providing 3 few-shot examples. We found that giving 3 few-shot examples generally led to better performance across health, finance, and climate datasets.